Hello everyone, welcome back again to another video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to download and install Kali Linux in a virtual machine. But before we get started, if you are new to the channel, I welcome you. And please don't forget to support the channel by clicking on the subscribe button, turning on the bell notification and liking the video. I really appreciate your support. Now let's get started. So to download the Kali Linux, we'll open the browser. You can open any browser of your choice, okay? And then we type the URL kali.org. So this is the interface we can download our Kali Linux, okay? You can download the installer images, which is the ISO file, and the virtual machine, okay? But in our case, we are going with the ISO file. So I'll click on the installer images, and then I'll scroll down, and then to download the Kali Linux, you click on this down arrow, okay, to initiate the download. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I've already downloaded the application, so we are going straight to the installation. So let me close this and open my virtual machine. Okay, so to set up the Kali Linux, we'll create a new virtual machine. So I'll click on that, and then we'll leave the default. It's supposed to be on the custom, okay? So you check the custom. If it's not on the custom, then you click on next, and then you leave the default. So my version of the virtual machine or the workstation is 17, okay? So I'll click on next, and then we check the I will install the operating system later, okay? And then we click on next, and then it's on the Mac, so we'll select the Linux. But the versions, you don't have Kali Linux in the versions, okay? There's no Kali Linux in the version, so you can select any Linux package from here, and then later on we will change the name to the Kali. So we'll click on next. We have selected Ubuntu, so I'll click on next. Then I'll leave the default. So here you can change the name to Kali if you want, or after the installation, then you change the name. So we'll leave the default here, the location, the default, and then we click the next. But you can change the location as well. Mine is the document, okay? So I'll click on next. So we'll leave the default and click on next. So the memory you want to allocate to your virtual machine, in my case, I'm allocating 2 gigabytes. You can allocate 4 GB, 8 GB per what you want the virtual machine to do, okay? So for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm allocating 2 gigabytes. So I'll click on next, and then I'll leave the default at NAT, then I'll click on next, and then I'll leave the default and click on next, next, and then we create a new virtual disk, okay? So we click on next, and then the maximum drive size we want to allocate for the Kali Linux, okay? In my case, I'm allocating 20 gigabytes. So you can allocate more per your like what you want to do with the Kali Linux, okay? So I'll click on next, and then I'll click on next, and then I'll click on finish. So here we are not going to power on the virtual machine, okay? We are going to point to where we have the ISO file. So I'll click on the CD/DVD SATA. So we are going to point to where we have the ISO image of the Kali Linux, okay? So I'll browse, and then I'll select the Kali Linux from the desktop. Then I'll open. Then I'll click on OK. So now you can power on this virtual machine, okay? Okay, so we are going to install via the graphic user, the graphical interface. So I'll press the enter key to proceed. So it has started the installation of the Kali Linux. So let's wait for it. So we'll leave the default at English, and then we click on continue. We'll leave the default, and then we click on continue. We click on continue, we'll leave the default, and then it's detecting hardware. So let's wait for it. Detect and mount installation media. So let's wait for it. It's loading additional components. So now it's detecting network interface, okay. Okay, so now you see we have the host name as Kali. So here you can change the host name as well, okay, but I'm going to leave it at the default Kali. Then we click on continue. And then the domain name, we don't have any domain currently, so I'll continue. And then full name for the new user. So the new user, let me name the user, okay, test, and then I'll click on continue. So that's the username, test. So I'll click on continue, and then you choose a password for the new user or the user you created. So you re-enter password to verify, and then we click on continue. Now we're setting up the clock. So we'll leave the default Houston, but you can change it per your requirements, okay? Click on continue. Now you're detecting the disk. Okay, so here, do you want to use the entire disk or use entire disk and set up LVM, or use entire disk and set up encrypted LVM or manual? So we want to use the entire disk for the purpose of this tutorial. So I'll click on continue. I'll leave the default and click on continue, and then I'll click on continue. So this is the size of my allocated disk space for my VMware. So I'll click on continue, and then all files in one partition, partition, okay, recommended for new users. So I'll leave the default and click on continue, and then finish partitioning and write changes to disk. Yes, I'll leave the default and click on continue. So the following partition are going to be formatted. Write the changes to yes. So we click on yes, and then we click on continue. So it's installing the base system, okay. So you can use the Kali Linux for your ethical hacking thing, like for penetration testing and for other ethical hacking, okay. It's a very useful operating system if you want to enter into the ethical hacking or cybersecurity thing for penetration testing, okay. So it's installing the base system. Please, if you find value in this video, kindly support the channel by clicking on the subscribe button, liking the video, and sharing for others to watch. Thank you. So it's configuring the apps. Okay, now it's, it's installing the softwares, okay. So now you have to select the packages you want to install. So I'll select the genome, okay, interface for my graphical, like the graphic interface, okay. So let me select, okay, let me select all and then click on continue. But you can choose not to select all per what you want the Kali Linux to do, okay. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I've selected all the packages. So it's installing the softwares, okay. Okay, so default display manager is GDM3. So let me leave the default and then click on next. So a display manager is a program that provides graphical login capabilities for the S Windows system, okay. So we'll leave the default and click on continue. Okay, so it's almost done installing. Okay, so it's still installing the applications or the softwares. So it's installing the grab bootloader. Okay, install the grab bootloader to your primary drive. Yes, so we continue with the installation. Then device for bootloader installation. So enter device manually. Okay, so we select this and then we click on next. So it's finishing the installation. Let's wait for it. Okay, so installation complete. So we click on continue and then it's finishing the installation. Now it's restarting the system. So let's wait for it. Okay, so Kali, so press the enter key. So it's booting the Kali Linux, okay? Kali Linux. So you can use it for all your penetration testing in a controlled environment, okay? So this is the username we created during the installation. So I'll click on it and type the password. Then I'll press the enter key. So this is the Kali Linux. So you can use it for all your penetration testing. So you can use the terminal as well, okay? You can use your terminal. You can, this is where you have all your applications. So these are all the applications you can use. You can use the air cracking. You can use the arc. You can also search here for the application you want to use per what you want to do, okay? So these are the applications. And you can also click here for the applications, okay? You can use the wireless attack, okay, per what you want to do. So you can use the password attack, you can use the John the Ripper, you can use Medusa, you can use Encrack. So anything you want to do with your Kali. So this is the way we install Kali in a virtual machine, okay, or in a VMware. So this brings us to the end of the tutorial. Please, if you find value in this video, kindly support the channel by clicking on the subscribe button, liking the video, and turning on the bell notification for more tech tips. I really appreciate your support. Thank you for watching and bye-bye.